Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Salt and Pepper Unleashed. This ain't your grandma's nursing home. In fact, the name for the show, Salt and Pepper, came about as we thought of the population we've been serving at Greenwood Village South for 62 years. These are older adults who have recently retired or are thoughtfully planning for retirement, possibly with salt and pepper hair themselves, and they are ready for resort living. They're unleashing themselves from the burden of home maintenance and repairs, homeowners insurance, property taxes, utility bills, cooking, cleaning, and so much more. They're ready to embrace a carefree lifestyle in a luxury residence with state-of-the-art amenities. They're picking local and they're staying local. But salt and pepper has another meaning as well. In an article entitled Finding Flavor in Differences, Embracing Salt and Pepper Relationships from Medium.com, a salt and pepper relationship can manifest in a variety of ways. It can refer to differences in age, race, culture, or personality. The key characteristic of a salt and pepper relationship is that the partners are vastly different from each other. They may have different perspectives, experiences, or even values. Despite these differences, they're able to connect and complement each other in a way that feels natural and effortless. The salt and pepper community members at Greenwood Village South combine to create the perfect seasoning, and I have the pleasure of having one of those guests with me today. I am pleased to be joined by LCS Project Development Manager, Ted Bolles. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Ted, there's a lot of excitement in the air today as we break ground on phase one of our expansion project, the development of April Drive. This project is scheduled to wrap up in December, and then next spring, we're looking forward to breaking ground on the Village Flats and all of our new amenity spaces. Do me a favor, tell our listeners about the scope and sequence of this significant project and everything that it entails.
Well, that's a big question, Jordan. But I think you hit the main point there is as the starting of April Drive and the construction of that and the connection. That's pretty much our main first piece of the project. We're going to make sure we had enough access points for the community as we get into the construction in the future months. And this gives us an access to the community actually out onto Highway 31 at an intersection with a controlled light. So it gives a little more safety to the community as we move forward. As we jump into our next phase, as you alluded to, next summer, we'll be building those 66 village flats along with new commons amenities and a new memory care and assisted living building. That's going to take up a majority of the campus in the front of the current campus and be taking offline that front entranceway. So this first piece, April Drive, is a huge piece that's going to entail us to move forward with the rest of the project.
You know, it's interesting. We tend to talk a lot about the future when we look at expansion and what is to be. But something very few people know is just how long this piece of the project that we have the ceremony for today, the April Drive component, that access, as you will. Few people know just how long this has been on the radar or in the dreams of Greenwood Village South and specifically the board of directors. And you'll hear me later today in some of my remarks, just kind of the perseverance and diligence that our board has maintained over literal decades of time to get to the point of maintaining access at a signalized intersection for safety and convenience of our residents. So just that vision that they have and the diligence that they've continued over the years is a significant piece that I think pales in comparison to many folks' vision of the future, but in reality, very, very little of what we're talking about could be done without that. And so when you're talking about that, so it's the access, what kind of benefit does not just having the access, but the additional unused acreage have in terms of potential staging of materials, equipment, et cetera, just to kind of help with the timing of construction?
Yeah, great question. That's you say it doesn't look like a major piece, but it's a huge piece when we started talking about the project. And when you guys told us your goals, your wants, your desires, things that you've been thinking about on campus as we did our master planning for you. that was a huge undertaking to say, how can we wrap this piece in and really make it beneficial to everybody? Rather than bringing it in online right at the end and then the residents get to use it, maybe we could use this early. As you said, it's coming through part of the campus right now that gives us access to a little bit more land that we can use for some of that staging, and then bring the construction traffic through your main entrance, keep them away from the current residents, keep that noise and that dust down on another part of the campus while your current residents still have this perfect access to come in. So it was a neat piece to add into the project. And row building isn't very romantic, but it's going to be a huge addition to the campus.
So if I'm a resident listening to this podcast, I heard no dust, no frustration.
That's the goal.
None of that. Okay. So you heard it here first, folks. I do, in all honesty, I want to give a shout out to LCS development. So all the way from master planning with Todd Shaw to the project development with Dan Novelli, and then just the project management here with you, Ted, just has been a significantly positive experience all the way through. And I want to touch on master planning here because
absolutely
a lot of times people, I think organizations, they get in this moment of thought-provoking innovation or growth, and they come up with some pretty significant, magnificent plans for the future. And in my experience, all too often what happens is either one, the plans end at the thought process, or I'd say probably more often, the first step of that plan is, to some extent, become successful, whatever that first plan, first phase of that plan is, and then that master plan that could be 15, 20 years of phases goes on the shelf, never to be touched again. And so I'm just curious. I'll share what my experience is here at Greenwood Village South, but I'm curious, in your experience in the development world, how often do you see that happen?
Plans getting shelved, or I guess I'll put in the word incorrect plans executed. Hopefully we get involved, never, but yes, it does happen a lot. And we do come into communities, or we get involved in communities, or we actually see them or tour them, and you can see where they missed the target. They might have done a few apartments, but they could have done some more commons, or they did a small expansion to maybe an assisted living building, but they really should have maybe tackled a memory care wing also. So that's some of the expertise that master planning brings in, is looking at your wants, your desires, your current campus, and then what are the economic trends and industry trends that are coming up in the future to make you guys viable as you move forward into the future. And this silver tsunami that we all talk about is coming. So that's really where master planning comes in, is sitting down with you and going through what your plans, what your staff, your board members, and your residents are looking for, and then bring our expertise in all the communities that we manage and that we see. We have 132 communities we're involved in. So we're out there and see a lot of different things and different aspects. And I'll be honest, we do go past some communities, you can just see where they've missed it. They've done the wrong thing, and they're going to be in trouble in the future. Yeah. So
it's tough. Hindsight's unfortunately it's kind of the only site that's 20/20 every time.
Yeah.
But you can see it. I want to share kind of the experience that I've had when I came on as executive director here back in 2019. I pulled out of the cabinet a few of those master plans that had been kind of shelved, and I had to knock the dust off. And that's when I kind of tapped on LCS Development's shoulder, and I said, hey, let's get everyone together. Let's take a good solid look at this. But I'm going to show you what we're looking at here, because this is not it, and I want it to be different.
Yeah.
And LCS Development did a phenomenal job of going out and finding some new partners in this kind of design and thought process. And we got board members involved. We got LCS stakeholders involved. Obviously, LCS Development was wildly involved. But we also got residents and GVS team members involved in this process. And the team as a whole was able to come up with something completely different than all of the plans before it. And when it was first presented, it was almost like this eureka aha moment when I saw everything coming together the way that it should have been. It's so interesting to me. And it's almost like an art form. Being able to look at a site plan and imagining this phased approach to significant construction projects until you can kind of see the final project. There's no way that a typical person or a lay person outside of the development industry can see how you get to that point. And it's almost like the people that had taken a look at this master plan before, they couldn't see that vision, but the team that you all assembled was able to. So what do you attribute that to?
The one word you said, the consultants more than anything, bringing that team together. It's not a one person or a one department exercise. And again, making sure we get your values, your wants, your desires, your campus history all involved in that. We could come in with our expertise and say, this is what we see nationally, you need to do it. But if it doesn't fit into this community and fit into your campus, into your, what would I call it, community values, it's not going to be successful. And along with that, bringing in a finance piece to make sure it's going to be financially viable for the future. As we were saying, it's real easy to maybe build one building and say, okay, that one building will pay for itself. But we might be able to build 2 buildings or 3 buildings or 2 additions, or as we're doing here, adding a pool and an auditorium. Those would be huge undertakings by themselves with no revenue generating space available. So adding all those components together, looking at your future, what those future residents want, that's really where the success comes in, making sure we look at all angles of the project. And as you said, the future pieces. Last thing we want to do is build something in a location or put a road in like we're talking about, and it's going to hamper or hinder any future growth, which we know is coming. So,
yeah. So speaking of future growth that we know is coming, you mentioned, and we were just in my office earlier, and you said, where did you get that slide? And there was a graph on one of my screens in my office. And you mentioned earlier Silver Tsunami, and I've got to correct you. 2 weeks ago, the first time I heard a new phrase.
Okay.
It's the same, similar, but with a non-negative connotation. So when you hear the word tsunami, it has a negative connotation.
Devastation,
Devastation, destruction. So now we no longer in this industry are we using the term silver tsunami. It's silver wave.
Silver wave.
Silver
okay.
wave.
Right.
And so I wanted to clarify because it was clarified to me just 2 weeks ago. But more interesting than that, from now until the year 2030, we're going to see a 40% increase in the 85-plus population in the United States of America.
It's coming.
40% increase. So from now till the end of 2030, 40% increase, which is remarkable. The new development construction pace is minute compared to that population growth. But what's interesting is that growth, the growth of the growth is only just beginning. And so then from 2030 to 2040 is another 60% growth.
It's huge.
In that number. And then from 2040 to 2050, 100% growth. So from where we are today to 2050, the 85 plus senior population will have tripled.
Mm-hmm.
Tripled. And so when we look at this, we're talking about the future. Really what we're doing right now with this phase is we're preparing for 2030.
Exactly, 100%. It's exciting to see Greenwood jumping on this early because as this project, as you can tell, and we've talked about, it's a lot of planning. We started that master planning years ago, and we're just finally putting ground ceremonies in today, or groundbreaking ceremonies. So it's a very long process, even without the construction piece, and just getting everything organized, city regulations, getting the drawings done, getting our permits, everything that's entitled into that whole process. So the way that you guys have jumped on this and seen the vision and really gotten started now is going to be huge for your success in the future.
Absolutely. Well, that's enough of us nerding out on the development side of things. Let's talk about some of these features and amenities that we've kind of hinted at. First, I want to talk about the flats specifically, and just try to articulate the look and the feel of some of these floor plans that we have throughout the 66 new innovative residences.
Number one word I'd use is open, entertaining, large windows, a lot of large space. Every apartment will have its own outdoor access to a balcony or a small sidewalk if you're at the ground level. High ceilings, modern appliances, incredibly nice finishes, and then a lot of customization that can go along with that piece. So we'll be sitting down with each resident, going through their specific apartment and what they want for colors on the walls, countertop materials. We have selections available. We've hired an interior designer to help us with those selections, along with the common space in the building, but also in the apartments. So the residents aren't left to their own devices trying to figure out how they're going to put everything together and what colors match. So we have interior designers available to talk to them through all that.
Have you ever worked on a project where interior designers were not available? And have you seen kind of the full depth and breadth of the spectrum of selections of residents when left to their own devices?
Yeah, it can go either way. I'll be honest, there's some people that they've done a lot of custom homes. I understand. We've had some of the buyers come in and they've wanted some special things done, and we're going to work as much as possible with them. But then if you don't get that professional interior designer, it kind of looks like a college dorm room apartment. It's very stark and very bland and one color and monochromatic. I've seen a few buildings where everything was a gray, a white, or a black, except for the wellness area. They get a splash of orange. Otherwise, that was the only colors in the whole building. So I got lost going from floor to floor. I couldn't figure out where I was, I'll be honest. So
definitely not what we're going for.
No,
here.
so every time we make sure we bring in professional designers. And that's a whole team. That's not one person, but that's a whole architectural team that comes in and helps us all the way down to what furniture we're going to get, how the tables are going to lay out, how big the tables are, the space between the tables so there's access as people walk around the building. So and make those spaces inviting and exciting to come and use.
Very few people understand the immense level of detail that goes into some of these plans. But what I would say is everyone, and we're talking hundreds of prospective residents that have seen these floor plans, 100% of them astonished at the look and the feel, the concept of the design and the openness, the finishes. The fact that you have a professional interior design group that have selected, specifically curated palettes of finishes, and then to still have a level of personalization and even customization and upgrades beyond that is pretty amazing. But speaking of amazing, we got some really amazing amenity spaces here, and you've kind of mentioned a few of those. One word that I think we utilize in this industry often, and we take for granted, a lot of people don't know what that word means, is natatorium.
Yes.
Which is essentially the building that houses a pool.
Yep.
So along with a natatorium, a wellness center with an indoor pool, what are some of the other kind of significant amenity spaces that are either going to be new amenity spaces or significantly improved amenity spaces from what we already have?
The two big ones I would say improved or significantly upgraded would be the front entryway and the lobby. I mean, you have a great one now, but we're going to make another lobby, another entranceway, and it's going to be open, large ceilings, and give you the feel that you're fully engrossed in the campus. You're fully encompassing whatever direction you want to go, wherever you're headed. So down one hallway will be that natatorium and that wellness center. Card rooms, game rooms, an updated library that's available to the campus, and then also a small bistro area that we're going to kind of call like a grab-and-go cocktail lounge. So during the day, you can grab a sandwich, you can have coffee with friends, and the evening it might be a pre-function area for a bar and to have a cocktail before you go in and see a speaker. And one of the bigger additions we're going to have added to the campus is a very large auditorium. See well over 200 people for multiple events, but they can also be broken down into smaller areas for smaller events, all going on at the same time. So that's going to be a huge addition to your campus. It's going to open up a lot of different activities and spaces.
As you're going through and talking, I'm listing some of these, and I'm just thinking, compared to the experiences that we have today, what the potential is of tomorrow with some of these. And I think about just kind of the front entry. I think one of the things that this community really hangs its hat on is the sense of community and the compassion and the hospitality. And I think what you've done with this is you've given that aesthetically wow feeling while maintaining all the components that make Greenwood Village South what it is. And you've kind of tied in convenience of literal arm's reach accessibility of
Correct.
all of these amenities within that main entrance. So I think it's amazing that you were able to accomplish all of that.
It's going to be your central hub, your central location where everyone's going to come through. Everyone's going to go through that area during their day. And that's where you're going to come down the hall like, oh, I'm going to stop and talk to so-and-so, or I'm going to have coffee today, or I'm going to meet 2 or 3 guys and we're going to play bridge or whatever it might be, or euchre, whatever the card game of choice is. So those spaces are available, and that community is available, and that vibrancy is going to be available to everyone. So you have some of that now, but we're really going to try and enhance that and explore on that. And again, the accessibility, you can branch off this direction for this space or this direction for this space. There's an outdoor courtyard that's going to be available for the residents to enjoy, and then walking in right back into the dining room and the rest of the campus and to the other apartments. So
that's amazing.
Right in the center campus. Yeah.
When I think about someone describing their day, no matter what resident it is, it's going to include this amenity space. At some point in their day, they'll describe interacting with one of these unique spaces within that large amenity space. Switching gears a little bit and a little more conceptually, tell me about the approach to innovation and specifically technology being integrated in with this expansion.
Yeah, I think the big piece is we're going to be switching over to a key fob system, and I'm going to call it a wireless access system, but the Village Flats have their own apartment garages, their own independent garage spaces, and we'll have that on to basically a sticker on the car. So when you drive up, that garage door opens right up for you. You drive right into your own space, park yourself underneath the building, and then you're going to be able to access your own apartment through your own key fob. And you're going to be able to walk right up to your apartment, get your mail right in your own apartment, and get right up to your own space. So that's one of the bigger pieces, along with we'll have a nurse call system in every single apartment that the residents will have available to them. So they always have 24 access back to someone to help them if they need anything immediately. Those are 2 of the larger pieces we'll be adding. And then obviously campus will be Wi-Fi compliant out there. We definitely have to have that. So, and I believe you have a closed caption TV system for what's going on in campus every day, that the residents can tune into that and see what activities are happening, what the meals are available, all those different things that are happening on campus. So,
yeah, and with that, one of the other pieces in terms of security, access at different entry points from the exterior of campus, I think we'll see a significant improvement. You want to talk about those?
Yeah, we'll be adding security gates at both entrances. The new one for April Drive, we'll have that by December, and then the new entrance, when we finish that, we'll also have security gates in place. So again, those stickers on your car, you just drive up, you're a resident, gate opens. If not, they'll have to call in and find access into the campus if they're visiting. So
a lot of flexibility and buttons to press, levers to pull in terms of increasing that sense of security for our residents without having to increase a significant amount of ongoing operating costs.
It's very easy to integrate in. So
that's awesome. And talk about just kind of the integration of all of the community together. Something that I've been saying for a few years now is my desire is that all 65 acres of this campus feels like every resident's backyard. And what I mean by that is the connectivity through trails and walking paths and adjacency and connected buildings, that all of our residents have the ability to enjoy, engage with, access all of these different amenities to create all these opportunities for engagement. And so tell me about the kind of the intention that went in to specifically the newer spaces and connectivity, as well as the connected walking paths throughout.
Yeah, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head. Every single apartment will have its own set of walking paths connected to the next one, to the next one. And then between all those buildings, there's large courtyards that the residents will be able to engage in and use space for whatever activities they want. One thing that's come out when we talk about what the community wants and what the residents want is the conversations I've had is, where's the residency gardens? So it's one thing you and I have talked about is some of these courtyard spaces, adding some garden beds and some planter beds that the residents have access to and free reign to plant whatever they want and however they want it, literally right out their back door. So, and then that new April Drive will have a sidewalk coming over to Highway 31. So the residents will be able to walk through the community, right down April Drive and right onto 31, any direction they want. So,
That's
and
awesome.
Again, I know I've talked to a few residents who walk every day, and that's been a huge piece. How do I get out there? Is there going to be a sidewalk? So, lighting and a sidewalk all the way out to the Highway 31. So.
Absolutely. Something really neat with some of those exterior walking paths and sidewalks is the fact that from the design, it looks like about every 75 to 100 feet, there's some sort of intentional space, whether that is a kind of a natural transition to the next building, or it's an intentional design into a seating space next to one of the retention ponds or the fountain. And I think that's really neat for residents to be able to connect from one amenity or one building to the other, but also connect with others along that journey throughout their day as well. I think that's really neat and something I think a lot of our residents are going to really thrive with that opportunity. I'm curious, a lot of new construction. What's your take on the ongoing maintenance needs in terms of, utility usage, the ongoing need for maintaining the grounds? It's not like we're adding new acreage, but the composition of that acreage is tremendously different a few years from now than it is today. Speak to that a little bit.
Meaning your ongoing maintenance for the apartments?
Yeah, ongoing maintenance in terms of just what the needs will be from utility perspective, manpower perspective, et cetera.
Number one, I'd like to just start with, we try and use the best materials we possibly can. So I want to give you a low maintenance building when we're done, so you're not hiring staff to come back and fix that. So that's a cement siding, that's a stone siding, that's a high quality roof, high quality windows with sound deadening in them. So those kinds of materials are going to help with that maintenance and that staff, along with just quality faucets, quality toilets, quality appliances. We're trying to cut into those corners because, again, I don't need your guys going in there and replacing faucets every 3 weeks because they're not working. So that's probably the big thing, is making sure that we're picking materials that have a longevity to them. They're a quality brand, a well-known brand, something you're going to be able to find some parts for quickly if need be. And then we have relationships with those different suppliers too. So when we do have some issues, I'm able to call them directly and say, hey, this isn't working, or that didn't work, or I need some extras of these. So that's probably the bigger piece that we're really going to see come through with your new buildings.
Okay. And I would also add, I know that there's a focus on high efficiency appliances.
Correct.
And just intentional with not just the materials, but the appliances and larger equipment to operate the additions to the community as well.
Yeah, and these will have centralized water systems with a water softener on them. So we have one major plant in every single building. Each unit has its own individual heating system and its own HVAC controls. You'll be able to control your own temperature in your own apartment. But again, coming to systems that are going to have longevity for your maintenance staff. So
I have a feeling that they will appreciate that more than they'll ever admit.
The temperature control?
Well, just the maintenance of proper, appropriate selections on the front end versus having to deal with replacing cheap, low longevity of life products.
But that's a good point. As you state, as the new residents are moving into these, that's this piece that you're going to take on as a community. That's no longer their responsibility to shovel, to rake leaves, to cut the branches over the roof so they don't get in the gutter. And then when the refrigerator, water filter goes out, you're going to be taking care of those things. The air filters go out, your guys are going to take care of that. It's all stuff that gets taken care of by your maintenance staff. So these new residents don't have to tackle any of those issues or any of those problems.
Which I would say is one of the top three benefits that residents make the decision to move to Greenwood Village South, is they don't have to worry about the burdensome responsibilities of life, and they can focus on those life-giving, purposeful responsibilities. And so it's a good point to make, that want to make it appropriate for our team to kind of bear that burden and carry that load, because we don't want our residents to have to worry about that anymore.
That's a huge piece. As you talked about the seniors that are coming and that silver wave that we're going to see, when you are in your own home, you got to take care of those things. And look at my own parents, they were always trying to find someone to cut the grass or cut down the tree branches and clean the windows, and it's things that my mom and dad couldn't do anymore. So it's a huge piece that gets taken care of. And then finding the staff to do that is going to be harder and harder in this growing economy. So
absolutely. A little fun story, and then I've got a question to wrap up. I enjoy maintaining my yard when I have the time,
Yep.
which is seldom nowadays. And so for the last few years, had two neighbor kids that were in high school. And one, when we first started, one was a senior and one was a sophomore. And so for the last 3 years, I've had high school neighbor boys mowing my yard for $35 a pop.
Good job.
And I'll be honest, they've never really done a great job. There's stripes here and there's stripes there and there's a little patch of grass not cut over here. But for the most part, it's cut, right? And I don't have to worry about it. This year was when the youngest one went off to college. And so for the last couple months, I've been mowing my own lawn.
Yeah.
And it looks better than it has in 3 years. But I will tell you, it's the best $35 I spent each week that they mowed it, because it is such a burden. It is absolutely a burden on me.
And now you have to find another young person to come take care of that, or find a service that's going to cost you more money because they're professional, blah, blah. So yeah, it's hard. It's finding that staff. So.
I think it's funny that when we have events and I'm talking to prospective residents, I can relate way more than I'd like to admit sometimes.
Yeah.
So, all right, wrapping up, this is the question I have for you.
All right.
Of the 8 unique floor plans that have been immaculately designed for the flats, where is Ted and his family living if given the choice?
There is one floor plan. It's a little bit larger. It's on the top floor. I do like that one, but I like the ones that are on the corners. I believe we have them labeled as the Yosemite and the Yellowstone. They're very, very similar. They're just in 2 different buildings. I think they're 10 square foot different because they're in a different building, but very similar plans, but just a great corner unit, lots of light, beautiful, entertaining kitchen. That's where I live. That's what I like hanging out in, and that's the space that we use at most at home right now. And then that balcony, you do have that exit, access to outside to have morning coffee and just relax and
Yosemite,
re-energize.
Yosemite, Yellowstone, I believe the one that you insinuated but didn't mention is the Denali.
The Denali, yeah.
So those 3 by far are the 3 most popular units. So you're in good company.
Yeah, I'll be neighbors. So I love them. So,
and I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm going a step above you. I'm going to the 3rd floor on the Denali.
Are you?
That outdoor space is phenomenal.
It's huge.
It is truly another 1.5 living rooms of outdoor space. So mixing the view with the kind of the seclusion of being on the 3rd floor and the ability to entertain in that way, I could see that being the most demanded unit out of any of the 8.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. And I believe they all have they're 2 bedrooms, if I remember correctly, off the top of my head. And then they all have what I call it a U room. I think maybe the sales industry would call it a study or an office, but we try and call it a U room. So you get to pick whatever you want you're going to put in there, whether it be crafts, an office, sewing room, card room, but it's your room. You get to do whatever you want with it. So that adds a lot of flexibility to all 3 of those apartments and utilizing them however you want, whether you have guests coming over, the grandkids coming over, or you are still doing some home work at home. So
it's interesting. We went from study or den to U room, and then when folks place their deposit, it then becomes a me room. Yeah. And then what's really interesting is to figure out which one is me, meaning is it the husband or the wife when there's a couple that gets the me room, and if so, then what is it? So I'm curious. Last question. You purchase one of those units.
Oh boy.
It's a U room, then it's a me room. Is it Ted's room?
Oh, I'd have to fight with the wife for sure. Yeah, she would take it over very quickly. I don't know if I'd win. I might lose that.
So what would it be if she won, and what would it be if you won?
That's a good question. I think at this point in our lives, we're still working from home a lot, so I would assume it turned into some type of office. I don't know. That's a good question.
There you go. Maybe something to hash out over dinner one night before you guys make that decision.
I think it would turn into like a man cave, I guess you would call it, or she shed, I think is the industry term if it's her room. But yeah, just a little space to relax and watch a different TV program maybe. And, read the paper or something like that.
Tell the kids to leave you alone.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I'm going to shut the doors and I'm going to go to my me room and relax. And so I think it'd do double duty. We'd probably have to fight, and it'd probably turn into something of that nature, just a little study, relaxing space. So
Very good.
that's a good question. I haven't thought about that. Now you've piqued my interest.
Something for our listeners to think about. If given the opportunity to have a you room / me room, what would it be?
Yeah.
So.
All right. If that's the biggest question to move in here, that's a good one to have.
That's a good
if that's
question.
the only thing they're arguing about, that's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ted, I greatly appreciate all of the insight and all the information. I know our listeners will too, and we're looking forward to putting those golden shovels in the dirt later this afternoon.
Yeah, and next year. Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.